Well, Mike, it's nice having you
Well,
here.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get you on for a while, and actually, it's great because you just finished a 100 miler last week, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, how long did that take you?
It was 31 hours and 8 minutes.
31 hours.
Yeah.
All right. So, how many times did you sleep?
You don't sleep.
Why not?
No, well, because I'm not good enough.
What?
Yeah, if you're good enough, you could sleep. I mean, there's guys that doing 17 hours, 20 hours. I mean, if you want to get that far ahead and take a nap, that's fine. But
100 miles in
I joke
17
around with a lot
hours.
of people in these races. They run consecutive races,
Hmm.
and a lot of times the 50 milers they start an hour after the 100 milers, but they get to finish the same time as me. So I'm the one that's fighting the cutoffs, and they have all day. They have 32 hours. They have 31 hours to go 50 miles.
Wait, hold on. At this place, so you were at, was it the Mohican? That's your shirt that
Yes,
you have
yes,
right now,
yeah.
right? Um, so,
But I can't sleep. I got to keep moving because I'm always towards the back of the pack.
oh my God. Okay, so
But
what's the cutoff for you this time?
that's 32 hours.
Oh my God. And you
Yeah,
did in 31.
31:08. Yeah,
Okay, so you had a whole hour left.
yeah.
That's kind of close though, man.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, it got a little paranoid there after towards the late in the race. I
Yeah.
had to get moving,
So,
keep going.
so is this your first 100 miler that you've?
Did I finish? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I've attempted nine previous Oil Creek 100s, and I've failed every time.
Jeez.
But
Just
I've went at least 62 miles, but I just couldn't get over the hump. So I
okay.
decided to try this race. Not that it was necessarily easier, just because it was different.
Okay.
And I buckled down. I did more training,
Hmm.
and I got so people were interested in crewing me. So and I fixed some of the nutrition stuff, and I didn't make mistakes that I was able to think more clearer because I had people that were looking after my interests. Where these other races like Oil Creek in the past, I would drive an hour and 15 minutes to get there, run the
Hmm.
race, drop out, and drive home
Oh,
nonstop.
you had no crew at all
No,
back then.
no,
You were just
none,
doing it
no,
yourself.
no.
Oh my God.
So the last time last year I had a little bit, I had a pacer with me the last time, but it got washed out in the rain, and they only had an 18% finish rate on that
Hmm.
year. And then the year before that was I finished mile 86 and I dropped out.
Okay.
So
Wow. So 86. You've gone 86 miles
yeah,
before.
and I dropped out, and that's because I ran out of energy. I wasn't eating. I was
Hmm.
worried about the cutoffs, and I quit eating.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was more of a run management issue. I think that year I was in shape enough to do it, but the Oil Creek is three loops of 31 miles,
Mm.
and it's psychological because you know that the mountains are there. It's constantly up and down.
So you know what's
All
coming.
you know it's coming.
Yeah.
So
So
it plays in your head a little bit, especially when you go out. You come back, you have like 2.5 miles of flats to get to the aid station. And you got to go back out and hit the mountains again. So
yeah. So I've yet to do a race twice, and I've yet to actually look at what the race is before doing it. I've only done four of these ultras, I guess, but nothing crazy like this. And it is kind of nice to not know what's happening next, right? I don't know if there's a hill next. I don't know what it is, and so you're kind of by the time you're halfway up a hill, you're
right,
just stuck, right?
yeah,
Like
like,
you know you're going halfway up it, so you might as well get up it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've done so many miles on that trail. That race course in Oil Creek has been there 11 years, and I've run it 9 times, and I got zero to
Jeez.
show for it. I got nothing on the mantle.
Oh my God, that's
Now, if
frustrating.
I would have signed up for 100K,
Hmm.
again, I have 31 hours to go 100K. Because it finishes at the same time as 100 miles,
Hmm.
so you don't have to worry about cutoffs. You could go take naps. You can go talk to your friends and buddies and just make a day of it. And there's people that do that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of frustrating when you're out there trying to do the race and
Hmm.
somebody comes up behind you at nighttime and they're doing the 100K and they're talking and and I'm thinking, yeah, I've been letting people around me all day. I think I won't let this person around me, and I'll push the hill. And then they go around me here that they're stopping and seeing all their buddies. They get the 100K on there and they're not in any hurry. Now I just pushed the hill, and I'm like, I might have pushed it too hard. I'm like 60 miles into this race here.
You getting your competitive nature and compete against the wrong people.
Well, you don't know. They come up from behind you. You can't
Uh,
see their bibs. It's dark out.
uh,
It's like,
yeah. So that's the thing. You're running through the dark.
yeah, all
So
night long.
so you
Into the
start
next morning,
you start when you start.
5 a.m. on Saturday morning,
Okay.
and then the race is over at 1 p.m. on Sunday.
Gee.
So
Oh my god. Okay, so like, what's your favorite part of the race? Like what time? Like what hour?
Well, I don't know. I think I might have discovered I kind of like seeing the sun come up in the next day. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool. This race here, I got to see the sun. When dropped out at mile 86 2 years prior to Oil Creek, I got to see the sun come up, and everything was all right with the world. And all of a sudden, everything just shut down. I was doing 15, 17-minute miles on the flats, and all of a sudden, it come down a hill, and all of a sudden, I'm doing 2 mile an hour, and that was just
Uh,
like it was. My legs were done.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's like, oh man,
Yeah, you're not gonna make the time cut off on that
I
one.
wasn't going to after doing 2 mile an hour. Just you can't. You can slow down, but you can't slow down that much.
Hmm.
Not with me, anyways.
Yeah, you're you're
So
you're a really consistent runner every time I've been with you. It's the same speed the entire time. Just
yeah, I'm. Some people are real fast going downhill, and I'm not. For some reason, I just don't. I don't like, and I've fallen enough times. I hate falling. I'm a big baby, so I would rather run slower downhill and hike real fast uphill all day
Mhm.
long because I don't like falling. So I don't have that reckless abandon a lot of people do. They just come flying down the hills, and
Mhm.
I've seen that like at Laurel Highlands. So I've had people, and I would just say to them, "Oh, I'll catch you on the hill," and sure enough, they'll blow down the hill, and then I'll pass them going up the next hill,
Yep.
and we go back and forth.
We
You
just
know,
did that run a couple weeks ago in May. Um, the Moraine State Park run. What one was it?
Glacier Ridge
Glacier
also.
Ridge. That's what it was called. And it was muddy as all get out. And I saw some of the because it's an out and back, right? You get to see the
It was
front
double
runners
out
coming
and
back.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of those people running were running so fast down those slippery hills. I don't know how they were doing it. I don't know how they
God
were still.
bless them. God
Uh,
bless them. I go right to the edge of where I feel comfortable and you know what? And I guess I've learned that I don't worry about it. If I go right to that edge and then I feel comfortable because
mhm,
when I was younger a runner, I didn't care. And then I'd end up falling on my face or getting. Why do something early in an ultra and then sabotage the
mhm,
race like something dumb or do something that's you can't do. And I know learning my limits took years to do that. And now I know what I can do. But when I first started, I didn't know. And
mhm.
so it was all trial and error. You
Yep.
know.
My I've gotten my dad into this, right? You met him recently, and he again he used to be a more a road runner, and especially on the road, he's just always push at a good pace, like go fast. Like he's always kind of in his mind one foot in front of the other as fast as possible. And when he starts to get tired, he does that on the trail too, and that's when he starts to trip.
Hmm.
And he's starting to learn everyone trips on the trail eventually. Like
That's the same thing with me. I start dipping my toes. And
yeah.
that's why, I use the poles,
Hmm.
and there was a stretch where I stopped using them and then I started getting faster and I'm like, it's kind of like my security blanket, the poles.
Hmm.
And I've learned to run with the poles. I can run with them and do just as fast as I can without them because I practiced so many miles with them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now this last race, I decided not to use the poles the first loop, which was 27 miles, just to get a feel for the course. I'm going to be doing it 4 times. So the loop
Oh,
4 times. A Mohican.
okay, but he
Yeah.
can. Okay, so
So the first loop is 27 miles. The second one's 26 miles. And then the last two are 24 each.
okay,
The last two are identical loops.
okay.
But like I said, after the first loop, I realized that I went through a couple really rough sections in there, and I just realized I needed my poles. So
Hmm.
I had them for the end of the race.
Which loop was the hardest?
Uh, I didn't like the first one because it took you through the private lands where it was all mud, and it took you through the they call it Enchanted Valley, and it's nothing but a bunch of blowdowns, and you're just crawling over top of logs, and you're in a creek bed.
What's a blowdown?
Blowdown's a tree that falls over,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
they're big, huge. You're crawling over and under logs, and it was just ridiculous.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was and it's obviously everyone's slowest mile going through that. Now they spared us. We got to go through it for the first loop, but then the second time they blocked that off so you can go straight and just bypass the valley altogether,
Hmm.
which was kind of I'm glad, so they kind of they changed it, the first two, last two were the best loops.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
they were
Nice and
best,
easy.
as far as technical wise,
Hmm.
runnable,
So,
so.
like, what's your worst? like generally in these longer runs, like do you have a mile that tends to be like your hardest mile?
Yeah, I normally get that lull between mile, um, 13 and 17, right around there.
Really? That early
Yeah, oh
on?
yeah, and it's kind of like, well, that's when you start getting a little bit of delayed onset muscle soreness. I
Hmm.
get it in my hips,
Okay.
and it's stiffness is what it is. You can feel it.
That
Now, the way
lactic
to get
buildup
yeah,
stuff.
way you get out of it is just got to keep moving.
Right.
Don't stop. Now, I used to read that on these races and think there's something wrong and stop running. That's not what you do. When I feel that, it's time for me to get moving. It's time to run because
Hmm.
you're stiffening it up. Now, that's everybody has their own things that happens to them, aches and pains. That's mine, but it's always a lull in that area and I always struggle. But once I get past that, then a lot of these races I've had crews, so I'm sort of thinking about the crews
Hmm.
or pacers, and I break the races down into small segments in my mind. So I know, like this race here, I ate so much food and I kept the hydration really well. I really didn't get that lull. I get it in Glacier Ridge all the time. I don't like the lollipop on Glacier Ridge. That's what that you go out on 50K, and that one there, I get the lull there, but that's about the spot that gets me.
Hmm.
I was surprised on the last loop, how good I felt the last 25 miles on this Mohican course.
Yeah, no, my biggest issue is so actually miles 13 to 17 are amazing miles for me.
Yeah.
I warm up, I feel good. I actually struggle to not go too fast, right? And then I generally do pretty good through the 20s. 30s start to get tough, and then I always fail at 41. It's like you said with you at 86, it's a food
Right.
issue. Like I
Right.
just don't have the
Right.
energy to keep going, and I haven't yet figured out how to really make those last. I've only done 50s. I haven't figured out how to make those last 9 miles super strong yet. Um, I have a harder time with like that like lactic acid buildup earlier on. I think it's like mile 7 or so for me. Hold on a second. I think we have a question. If this wasn't frozen. Um, hmm. Hi. Okay, there we go. Now we're not frozen. Hold on a second. We have a do. Maybe. 5. Someone followed me. Chat. Views, followers. Moro Aika. Hi, Moro Aika. Hmm. I can see that there are people, but it won't tell me what the chat is. Uh. Okay. Thank you, Tech Man. So the question. Sorry, who was this question from? Washed Up Runner has asked, did you climb up the root wall Mohican is famous for? Apparently, there's a root wall somewhere.
Hmm. Um, that was probably at the end of the Enchanted Valley, and you had to pretty much you were on your hands and feet. Yeah, you had to crawl up it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It wasn't fun. I'm trying to forget
You
that
trying
part.
to forget that? What mile is that for you?
I'm thinking it was right after my law, probably in the 20s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not too late, but it's for you. That's a dangerous time to be doing that.
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to I'm saying to myself, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me.
Hmm.
Really, they're making us do that. I was so glad the second loop that I didn't have to go through that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I answered the guy's question rightly. I think I know where he's talking, but I've only run that course one time.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I know. Well, you're planning on doing the Bakers again in
yeah,
August, right?
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
50 miler you plan
yeah.
on doing. So you've done it 5 times already, right? So you'll be
I have
getting
5 finishes at the bakery. Yeah,
okay, and
yeah,
so this will be your second rolling pin.
right.
Um, and in this one, there's actually like a rope climb, right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's mile. I'm thinking 11 or something like that. You got to climb. Now it's a little tricky for me because I have my poles,
Hmm.
so you got to have your poles and grab the rope and kind of because it's on my wrists and stuff. But
Okay.
it's not that hard. I mean, the rope climb it's short,
Hmm.
short little climb.
So we were talking about earlier, actually, when you start to run out of food, like what happens? How do you know you haven't been eating enough? Like what happens to your body?
Uh,
That's a weird question, maybe.
eh, I don't know. I mean,
So like
I
for
just
for me, right? Like I get like really weak feeling. Like I can feel a little bit shaky in my arms and sometimes in my
yeah.
quads.
I'm still trying to figure the nutrition out
Yeah.
myself. I mean, sometimes I think I'd eat too much. You know.
Okay.
Um.
Oh, I found out not to have too many electrolytes.
Well, yeah.
That knocked me
Yeah.
out.
Those goos are bad for me.
Yeah.
I tried that one time, and I just started getting a sour stomach. I do get the weak stomach. That's a bad thing for me.
Hmm.
My body seems to crave solid, heavy foods. I mean, I chow down on bacon.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but you think that would be hard on your stomach, and I
Hmm.
just take it down. Boiled potatoes, yeah, great. Give me
Yeah.
all that. Pierogies are good.
I've
Chicken
learned pro.
quesadillas are good.
Oh no,
Oh, I
no,
can eat
come
that.
on,
Yeah,
no,
yep,
no.
yeah, yep. I know it sounds bad, but it tastes good. Anything that's salty is good too.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big Cheez-It fan. That's
I
my
know
snack of
salt.
choice.
I pay more attention to salt than anything else because I've had trouble with cramping IT bands and stuff due to dehydration and
Hmm. Hmm.
run management in that area. So I've been, I try to handle the salt.
Yeah.
That's what I crave.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. No, I am doing that, and then when I get crude, like I said, once I start hitting those later miles, I don't eat enough nearly, and they're trying to force feed me anything with sugar in it, right?
Hmm.
So this last one that we did, man, Paydays. They just kept feeding me Paydays. I think I ate maybe 1,500 calories worth of Paydays at least. Just every like 10 minutes, they're like, "Here, have another payday." I'm just like, I'm so tired of caramel and peanuts.
I
Um,
almost made a mistake, kind of, because I mean, I drove to the Mohican. I got a hotel room,
hmm.
but there was nothing, no convenience store or anything anywhere around. So I
Hmm.
really didn't have anything to eat before the race
What?
at
Really?
all. So I got up and I'm like, well, my crew was there, and he opened up his trunk and they had these moon pies. I ate 4 moon pies, just stuffed them right down. I'm like, I had to put something in my stomach.
That's a
So
lot of moon
yeah, I
pies.
ate 4 of them.
Jesus.
Those little Debbie's
Hmm.
creams, yeah.
You must have been having like a sugar high at
Well,
that
I
point.
just needed. I know I need to get something in me. I was hungry actually,
Yeah.
but I
I
didn't have. I normally I stop somewhere and get buy
mhm.
something.
I used to. I don't do it so much anymore because I kind of have a little bit issues with them sometimes. But I used to take like a meal replacement shake, and I would down that at the beginning. I used to use Soylent a lot for that, just to make sure everything's kind of going and working through my body. And it's easy to drink, but it also feels kind of hearty, right? Because those things are super heavy. Um, so yeah, so how'd you get into this, right? So you finally run a 100 miler.
Yeah, yeah,
Not too many people just wake up and run 100 milers. So you've been working at this for a while, right?
yeah. I mean, I started like in 2009, 2008, right around there, and I used to lift weights a lot, and I got tired of. I get these sore muscles, my
Mm.
shoulders would hurt, my chest, it's like. And I was so bullheaded with my workout routines that I'd go work out and I'd push so hard and everything and then I have delayed muscle onset soreness for the rest of
Mhm.
the week. So I could never do like bench press twice in a week because I'd be too sore,
Yeah.
you know, and then I could never stick with it enough. And then I got tired of it. So then I started getting on the treadmill at the gym and I would be getting on there and there'd be like 3 treadmills. I'd get on there and I'd be on it for 45 minutes straight, I started liking it. "Oh, this is kinda cool," and I didn't really pay any attention to it, and then I started liking it more and more, and then I would just go try to run down the road and back, and then, okay, that's 6 miles, okay, I can do that, and then we were going to soccer games with my kids, there were, and there was a guy there that was running he was running a half marathon. It was called the, Cook Forest Half Marathon in the
Okay.
spring. It's in April, and he invited me. He says, "Ah, let's go." Well, it almost didn't happen. So I worked shift work,
Hmm.
and I was on midnight, and somebody called off, and I was going to get forced over daylight, and that means I would not be able to go.
Hmm.
One of the old timer guys, I told somebody that I had a race in the morning about 9 o'clock, so I worked midnight. I had enough time just to carpool with somebody and drive there to Cook Forest. Well, this guy stepped up to the plate and worked the overtime, so I didn't get forced, or else I wouldn't. I may not have. We may not be sitting here talking.
Right,
I may
right.
not have run
It's
that.
funny
So
how tenuous that can be.
so we show up, and I run this race. Now I don't have any clue what to do. I had this iPod, and I had music that I really liked, so I cranked up as loud as I could. I got right up in the front, and I didn't know any better. I just ran as fast and hard as I could, just took off. I was like on the front, the front pack, and then my buddy, of course, my buddy Randy, who got me, he was ahead of me. He's really, really good. And he kind of just stayed out ahead of me, and then it was an out and back. So when he turned, I could see him coming back when we did the out and back, and I was kind of frustrated a little bit on that race. I did well, but when I was kind of learning right away that everybody that runs these half marathons are really, really fast.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing as best I can, and the crews in these races usually do a really good job. And I'm not gonna say anything bad, but I was a little bit disappointed when I got there and I was 3 miles from the finish line, and there was a guy standing there, and they had no more water for the water stations. They were
Yeah.
all gone, and he's like, "We're out of water," and I'm like, well, "Wait a minute, I'm running a 9 minute mile, and they're out of
I'm
water."
dying.
Just
Yeah.
I said, "Man, these people are really fast." I ended up with 2 hours and 15 minutes, so I was happy with that.
That's a fast first half.
Yeah, and then I couldn't walk for 4 days, 5 days. I mean, so I mean, I work midnight, get up, drive up there, run the race, come home. You know, then I'm lumped up for 4 or 5 days.
Right, right.
So I mean, it kind of. Then I went back to work, and then then I started researching. I looking at other races, and I looked at the marathon distance. And then I decided. I think it was in 2008 or nine to go try the Eerie the Eerie marathon.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove up there and ran that, and hit the wall.
Well,
Yeah, I had all these plans, like, because I took the kids out on the on the bike trail where they had the tunnels, up in Hamilton,
mm-hmm.
and I ran a 4 hour marathon on the bike trail with the kids, just messing around, and I don't know. It's probably not super accurate. It's probably off, probably shorter than it was, but still, it was still 4 hours. I ran 2 hours on to. The kids are riding the bikes, and the boy was barely tall enough, and that was. We got into the tunnel. I remember running real fast. I was actually scared. I couldn't see the feet in front of me. We got to the long tunnel on
Mm-hmm.
the train tracks and stuff like that. But that was kind of cool. And I'm like, oh, I think I can do it 4 hours. I'm gonna do 4 hours. And I tell my head I can do that. Well, I found out what the wall was. And
Yeah.
you go up the Eerie. It's 2 loops. It's 13-mile loops. You do it twice. So the first one, I'm still within around 2-ish hours, or whatever. And then I hit that mile 20, and then that was it. It hit me, and it was like, so now I'm walking. I'm walking most of it. Well, most of 6 miles, I crashed and burned it, and it was like a 4:45 or something like that. That's what I ended up doing. So
That's pretty fast. Yeah, I mean, for your first time.
yeah, and then I ran a couple other ones. Um,
Yeah, my first marathon, I was training with my dad, and we ran the first like half marathon like an hour 50 minutes or something like that. And I kind of kept going. Started slowing down around mile 14. All of a sudden, hit mile 18. I had to walk. There was no other option. Like I hit that wall. I was at the end,
mhm.
and that last 8 miles took forever. I think I finished just under 5 hours, but I'm actually not even sure. Like it was just a bad. Like it went from looking like I was going to hit like 20 minutes under 4 hours
Mhm.
to hopefully I got under 5 hours. I'm not even sure anymore.
Well, what happened was and again, I was a novice, so these races were all new to me. So I don't know. I just go out and run scared.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I was a heavier guy too. I was about 195, 190. I ran
Mm,
all these races. I'm not that weight now, but that's what I weighed at the time.
right.
So when I fail, everyone at work would say, "Oh, well, geez, man, you tried. You did more than I." Just they're all telling me, and I'm like, "Well, it still didn't do very well."
Yeah, right. It's not good enough for you.
But I wasn't training properly for any of those races, and then I started getting the old IT band,
Mm,
and I realize now a lot of times the IT band is just conditioning. You're not conditioned. You're not used to running. That's why the IT band pops up.
okay.
I had that happen a few times where I thought maybe and I I was blaming the shoes and all that stuff, and then I decided to try trails because I was blaming the IT band, for road running,
Mhm.
the camber of the road. I
Mm.
was running the cambers, and then I ran a couple shorter trail races. I think one tough cookie. I ran that one up north. I think I ran the uh, it was one of the ones up by the Heiner, but it was a shorter distance. It was 11-mile race, and I didn't have any problems. So I thought, oh, trail running must be easier on your legs. So
Okay.
I kind of there was a guy at work that he mentioned something about the Oil Creek 100, and well, I'm going to backtrack. I was researching a 50-mile race. That's just, and I read a couple books here and there, and I was trying to figure out what would be a good beginner 50, if there's such a thing as a beginner 50. And they had one over in the Virginia Happy Trail Runners Club, running club, put us on a race. They put on the MMT 100. They also put on the Bull Run 150, which is a 50-mile race. Now, I was geeking out as much as I could for 2009, researching all this, about running this. So I got on there and I was reading all the race reports and I was looking at then they celebrate, and they have a rich history of doing this for many, many years, and they celebrate their older runners. And I thought that was cool. All the guys have been doing it for years, and all these races should do that, and most of them do, not all of them, but most of them celebrate their older runners or the
Mhm.
people who've been doing it for years, and I think that's a great thing. But
Mhm.
they're real good at that there. So as I'm researching everything, I'm taking a look at these characters, and they got pictures of them. I know what they look like, so I'm like, all right, this guy here, he's going to run this fast here, and he's going to be here, and if I see this guy on the trail, you know. I don't want. He's probably going to be behind me, so I know I'm in trouble if he passes me. So I have these people's I know their names. Like never been to Maryland in my life,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Well, there was a lady that gave a race report on it. I even knew what she looked like. So sure enough, I go out and run this race. And now we took a family vacation on that race, and I'll never forget it. My wife and kids were there, so it's a 13-hour cutoff. Now I had no idea about cutoffs. 13 hours is pretty fast.
For a 50 miler.
Yes,
That is
that's
pretty
what they use
fast.
because it's relatively flat.
That's pretty fast.
And I didn't know about anything about 14
Mhm.
hours. I just thought, oh, it's 13 hours. And I did the math. Oh, it's like 13, 14-minute mile, whatever. Yeah, it's doable, whatever. And I'm doing all the math, just like had no idea what.
Seemed real easy.
Well, I took off and I ran just like again, just took off like a bat, as usual. And I started getting pain in my toes. Well, here, I ran so hard, and I didn't know enough to keep track of my toenails. I let them grow too long. Well, they separated from the cuticles, but both my big toenails separated
Oh.
during the race.
During the race,
Yeah,
you
so I had a
lost it.
lot of pain in both my toenails because they
Oh.
separated in the back. It took a couple weeks for the toenails to come off, but still, it hurt.
So they actually did come off.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh.
they come off, but that was my fault. I didn't know any better about. Yeah, the
It
things
doesn't
you
make it
learn,
any better.
like taping your nipples up and stuff like that, you had to learn the hard way. I had to learn the hard way. I didn't know any better.
You tape your nipples too?
Oh, I do now, but
Uh,
back then, I had to learn the hard way. I'm pulling my shirts out like this when I'm running, so I don't get all, bloody and whatever. But
have you bled there before?
yeah, a couple times if it
Uh,
chaser. But anyways, I took off running it, and I ran scared, and I finished the race. I ran the fastest 50-mile race of my life. It took me over 10 years to break that speed.
what
I
would you?
ran that fast. I did 11:33, and I
Wow.
flew. But the thing is, though, here I am. It took me 10 years of running and pacing myself to equal that number again. I never got back to that speed again. And I did it all wrong. I was laid up for a week. I laid around. I couldn't move for a week. I
Yep.
could not walk for a week.
Mm-hmm.
But now I can run and go out and run the next day.
Yeah.
That's how the progression is through time, through aging and your body's can get conditioned through the years. Well, at least with me, anyways.
Well, that's the amazing thing.
But anyways,
Yeah.
to go back to the race though, as the race was going, I hit the wall, and that's getting my laws. I'm playing my music, and now I'm starting to see these people that I have memorized. Now I'm a newbie. I'm excited, and I like to talk. So if I have an opportunity to talk, now that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a good thing. And it was kind of funny. It's a really good story. I seen the first guy, and he's the bearded guy, and he runs like a 9:13,
Yeah.
and he's really good. I know I'm not going to say his name, and he's really good. He's well out ahead of me, and I'm like, well, the second guy's behind me. he didn't pass me yet, so I should still be okay. Well, I saw the lady that did the race report. She was having a bad day. Well, I don't know any better, so I come up to her and was talking to her. And I said, "Yeah, this is my first ultra, whatever." I says, "Yeah." I told myself to keep myself between the gray beards. I says, "That guy, like that Stanley guy, that beard, and the Westerman guy, whatever his name, his beard." I said, "I also know if I see you, I'd still be okay." Well, she took offense to that. That was a backhanded compliment. I mean, it's just out of just sure, excitement. And then she actually made a comment in the race report. If you read the race report after the race, she mentioned me as a newbie giving her a backhanded compliment when she was having a bad day. So you got to be careful. You're all excited and you think you're doing well. If somebody's having a bad day, you got to remember. Again, I had no idea. So she mentioned if you actually look up the race reports from 2009 Bull Run, it'll say on there a newbie gave me a backhanded compliment.
You're the menace, right?
I didn't know any better. Like I
Did
said, I finished the race, and I said it
did
took
you
me though a
finish
couple
before
years.
her or after her?
I was before her. She was
Ah,
having a bad day. Now, but I mean, the thing is though, now if I run a 12-hour marathon, I'm happy. Or
yeah.
I'm ultra. I'm like ecstatic. So I mean, I was having an exceptional day, but I was running scared. I said there was no plan. There was no nothing. Just go out and run scared, run dumb.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know. But the same pattern started happening though. Again, I go to work and the guy's like, "Oh wow, you finished it." Well, then I got to the point where I haven't been DNF. I haven't DNF'd anything yet, so I get this in my head. Well, I didn't like the summer. The summer's hot.
Mhm.
So I'd take the whole summer off and not run. Then I'd sign up and run a 50-mile race. You know, dumb, dumb, don't do it. And then I'd finish it, or I would get dehydration or an IT band. Something would run management. I started DNFing a few of these races.
Right, right.
Because I wasn't really doing anything I wasn't respecting the process. I wasn't training like I should. I wasn't keeping myself, and I was still showing up overweight. I still had a lot of my muscle because I was younger. These
Mhm.
big arms and stuff like that. Oh, I'm a tough guy. And now it's starting to where, well, I'm only finishing half of the races now, the 50-mile races.
Mhm.
I tried the lower Highlands a couple times. I DNF two or three of those. I'm getting car rides back. And I'm like, ah, this ain't so great. But I stuck with it. But
No, yeah. So what was the big change that like you just start running more to
well,
combat
I
that?
run by myself all those years, and I mean the Old Creek. I really want to finish that race one of these years. I mean it's very very hard. And I come close so many times, and I just I mean I've had people tell me I wasn't mentally strong enough, wasn't mentally tough enough.
You really?
Yeah. I mean I all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
But I think one of my turning points was in the Glacier Ridge. I had DNF'd the Glacier Ridge Ultra two times,
Mhm.
and that's right by my house. And one was an IT band, one was a dehydration. So I'm starting to question whether I can do these races. I'm starting to think maybe just stopping, because I can't seem to get my monkey ass out of bed and commit to running more,
Mhm.
and keep my weight down. And then plus all the soreness and all that stuff is just wearing on me. And I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years. I still DNF in Oil Creek every year. I'm still doing 50-50 on my ultras. Half the time I finished, half the time I didn't. But that year was a good year. It rained like it did this year. It was
Rain
exactly the
this year.
same as what this year's
There can't
GRT
ever
was.
be something like this. I was start, I almost gave up on this last race and started building a boat. Like, oh my god, if it was like this last year, it
Well,
was
that's what
ridiculous.
happened. That's what happened on this race too.
Uh,
That year, I don't know what year it was. Probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
mhm.
But I got to where I was pushing the cutoffs all day. But I never slowed down, and again, I really wasn't. I mean, I didn't have a plan for eating food. I still was just eating aid station food. I didn't really train a whole lot again. I come in out of shape again and run this race.
Mhm.
And I had it set up where I needed, I got set up for 3 hours to do the last 10 miles. And I got there and I'm like, that's exactly 3 hours. Well, the trail sweeper started coming behind me. I started talking to the guy. I say, hey, I'm fine, man. Don't pull me off. I'm fine. Oh, I'm just cleaning up. Just go ahead. So I got off ahead of him. he would catch up to me, and it was just raining. Buck, he says, "Oh, it's really sloppy out here." Yeah, I had my poles and everything. Well, my kids, wife and kids were there at the finish line, so I really didn't want to not finish, and I had
Mhm.
just dropped out of this race twice, so I started getting really paranoid. I'm looking at the watch, and I'm like, "Oh, I got to do the last 10 miles in 3 hours, and the conditions are bad, And I mean, I'm still moving okay, but it's getting late, And I kept, we got the mile 45, and I'm looking at that watch, looking at the watch. I'm like, I know I got two more hills to go. So I pull out, my boy comes up, and they're hollering at me or something. The boy comes over and is running with me, and we come down here, and right before you got to make a left-hand turn to go to the finish line, and right there is where you could see the marker,
Right.
for the timer. And they're sitting there saying, "Oh, you got 5 minutes to go. You got 6 minutes to go." And I'm like, I'm still like a half a mile out or whatever. So I'm starting to get paranoid, really paranoid. And I'm like, "Wow, man, I'm trying to run as much as I can." Well, I got there, and the kids are going, "You got a minute to go." I turned the corner, I had a minute to go from where we parked the car at the end to the finish line. I had a minute to do that.
Oh my
And I
god.
just I took off sprinting. I sprinted. I finished with 20 seconds to go in that race. And I went back and looked. There's not too many people do that.
No.
And the people are like, "What the heck?" I said, "Man, you were on the back of the pack all day." So I was scared. I said, I really didn't want to drop out. I didn't want to go through all that and miss by like 10 seconds or 5 seconds.
Oh my god.
And that kind of was a turning. But again, I want to give shout outs to all these people that are out on the trails doing crewing, and the people out there doing the the sweepers and all that stuff, because that guy had some nice words to say to me to keep me going. And
Mhm.
I mean, the DNF means do nothing fatal in my book, and it's no big deal to DNF. And some of the most interesting people you meet are the people that drive you home from these races when you don't finish.
Mhm.
At Laurel Highlands, I think the first time I dropped out of it, I was really bummed, and the lady gave me a run, and it was the race director's sister, and she drove me back, and she was not even a runner, and she says, "Oh, hey, don't worry about it." I says, "You know what? These people come out, they run these races, and then sometimes, then a lot of them come back the next year and they do just fine." Yeah, something like that. It stuck with me. It's like,
Right.
oh, okay. And I remember that. Another time I think I dropped out of Baker, and I had to get a ride home one year, and the guy says, he says, I said, thanks for coming out and take care of this trail." He says, "You know what?" And he said something that I never really gave it any thought. The guy said that he's not a runner, he's not even a hiker. But he says, "I volunteered to come out here because I want to see the trail open. You guys come out and run the race, keep the trail open.
Mhm.
If you guys didn't run this race, this trail would grow up." And with the Baker, that's true, because there's places that
Yeah.
you go through that there's nobody's ever walked through since the last race.
Yeah, I mean,
And this guy was out there, and
yeah.
he told that to me. Like, wow. So he's just volunteering his time because he likes the trail and he wants to make sure it stays open. That's it. That's it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, all right. So I mean, even though you're DNF and you're driving home, there's people. There's still cool people. Like last year's Old Creek when I didn't finish. I picked up my pacer and I told him I didn't think I was going to make it. Well, he's like, "Oh, Mike, come on, you got to try." I'm like, "Okay." We got up on that. It was just like Glacier Ridge, all the mud and rain. It was
Yeah.
and he was like, "How'd you do this for 70 miles?" I don't know. I just kept sticking with it.
Yeah.
But the trail sweepers caught up to us. I missed the cutoff by 9 minutes at mile 70. But I got a ride home from a guy that was 85 years old, and he's out there hiking these trails. And I said to the guy, "Man, you're doing these trails at 85. That's what I'm looking forward to." He says, "You're my hero." I says, I want to do that. That's why I don't lift weights anymore. You
Mhm.
can't lift weights in your 80s, and you'll lift weights in your 70s. You do it when you're young, and you know.
And reap the
But
benefits
these
as you get
ultra runners
older.
can go into their 70s. All right, fine. I'm 54. Maybe I could do it into my 70s. We'll see. I'll worry about my next race.
Mhm.
You know. And
We
that guy's 85. I was like, man, he's a cool guy. I talked the heads off the whole time we were walking the last so many miles to the aid station to drop out. It was a good time.
Right.
And I wouldn't have met those guys if I didn't drop out. Yeah, I put my ego aside. All right, 9 times failure. So, well, maybe I'll try a different race. So I tried Mohican this year. And
Yep.
I buckled down. I did more training. I ran more.
Yeah.
My running club, by the kind of milers that I'm a part of, they're all gracious and stuff, and they have volunteered to help me quite a bit. They're good friends of mine, and I had not had that element before. It was always
Mhm.
me running these races by myself and not knowing anybody. Not, I mean,
Hmm.
not knowing anybody. Period. I go down to the Roma list, don't even recognize a name. Now when I go down like at Glacier Ridge, there's 10, 15 people there, plus the aid station. And I know them all. It's like, so I mean, that's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of progressed into that.
Yeah, I'm starting to know the community a bit more around here too. I mean, I'm pretty lucky. I hang out with, Ryan and Eric, who really understand the value of the fact that it is a community that's actually running around doing these trails, maintaining these trails, and this kind of stuff. And they tend to, well, actually, they're almost always the ones who crew me at this point, and it's amazing having somebody there like that. Just a random Saturday was like, you know what? Instead of doing everything else, like, I'm going to prioritize coming and making sure you finish, and you hit that whatever your wall is, right? Like
Hmm.
everyone's got their one. For me, it's 41, which is lucky because in a 50 miler, that's when I'm getting paced, and it's like I feel horrible right now. All I want to do is quit. But here's Ryan or here's Eric, and they came out for me. So I guess for the next 3 hours, just gonna
I
suck
think
it up.
Ryan. I told myself if Ryan ever's to pace me, I said, he scares me. I think I wouldn't want him let him down.
Yeah,
Ryan would just look at me and say, "Mike, you're going to finish this," and I'm like, "Okay, sir."
yeah. No,
I
right?
think if Ryan asked me to run through a brick wall, I would do it. I mean, he just has that demeanor. He's a cool guy. I like him. But I'm just, if he was to pace me, like I said, I think there would be anything I would do. I wouldn't be able to talk my way out of anything.
Oh my
I
god.
think it would actually happen.
This last one was pretty good. But actually this it was so hot this last Baker's. That it was actually my first run where I threw up. Um, but the year before, I really didn't have a great run at all, and I didn't was eating too many goos. And they kept telling me not to eat so
Mhm.
many goos, and I was like, I love goos, and then I didn't. Um,
I can
it's really
relate.
how that went. Like it felt
Yeah.
great for the first 30 miles. The goos don't work after you have 10 of them, or 20, or yeah, I think I may have been close to like 20 goos by mile 30.
Ugh.
Yeah, I was dead. And but I had again Ryan for like the last like 10 miles,
Hmm.
and we were on that train trail
Oh
that
yeah.
that finishes
Yeah. It's
out.
8 miles. Yeah.
Oh my god. Orion military marched me those entire 8 miles. We passed like 8 or 9 people.
Hmm.
He probably saved me 20 minutes on those last 8 miles because I mean, and it was like clockwork. He'd be like, we're running for 2 minutes, walking for a minute, running for two, and then I know he started cheating. Like I know he started like making it like 2.5 minutes and 45 seconds. For and by the end we're practically running the entire way, and we're just going, and you can tell like the entire time he's like whispering in my ear. He says, "You see that person up there? We're gonna pass them." I'm like,
That's what we were doing on this race here. Um, I was just content to hike it out the rest of the race. But
yeah,
the problem is, I was getting too close to the cutoff.
mm-hmm.
Sean and Jamie had been crewing me all day, and as I mile 54, I could pick a pacer up. So I set myself up pretty good. I wish I'd have been a little bit faster in the beginning, but then I don't really know. I finished strong, so
Mm-hmm.
I maybe I that was a good thing. But I was kind of hoping to be a little quicker in the first 54 miles than I was. But needless to say, Sean, we did the 24 lap mile loop through the night,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, we got into a groove. There wasn't anybody to pass, and we kind of kept it going and got through it okay. And then I picked up Jamie on daylight, and then I got cold. I'd leave the aid stations. I would get cold as soon as I stopped moving. I would start shivering.
Oh
So
yeah, I bet.
so I had to put a long sleeve shirt on for the night. That fixed that problem. Plus I had to run. So automatically, no matter what, I had to go run just to get my body warmed back up again.
Do you get the chills after the runs?
Sometimes
Okay,
I
yeah.
I didn't get them. I didn't get them after this Mohican.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I got them when I sat too long at the aid station during the race, but not at
Okay.
the end. Now Baker last year, as soon as I stopped, I went to uncontrollable shivering. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I just went like I just wanted to sit down. I mean, I think I was probably wasn't taking in enough something, you know.
Yeah. Well,
and it was so hot. And that race there was probably the hottest race I've ever finished. Normally I don't finish them when they're 85 and humid
yeah.
and
I mean,
raining.
it was 85 to 90. It rained 2 or 3 times on
Yeah,
us.
and we were under that canopy. That canopy there at the dam,
Mm-hmm.
where that camber for 6 miles, you're on a slant.
Mm-hmm.
I says, this is not even a trail. I'm trying to keep a good attitude, but that was just miserable doing that section. I couldn't wait to get to see Sean at mile 33 and run the roads.
Yeah, yeah. No, that I do not like that section. I mean,
Oh, and my knees hurt just talking about it. It was just
it was
sideways.
it was actually my feet, man. So I don't normally have feet issues at all. I run with weird shoes, right? So, but I don't ever have blisters. I never lose toenails or something. That was the first time in years that I got a hot spot because it rained on me while I was
Mhm.
doing that camber. And because you're constantly like, you almost kind of have to like run at an angle because it's such a
Yeah,
high camber
I'm
or
so
hike
glad
at
I
an
had my
angle.
poles to take the weight off my knees.
Oh my God. And so I started to actually burn a hot spot onto my left foot trying to like push up this weird hill. Yeah,
Uh,
uh,
I don't look forward to doing that section again. Yeah.
yeah, I don't like that. That's probably been my least favorite section. Although I will say again, this last run that we did, I was so mad at the mud. Oh my God. I don't like mud anymore. Um, I actually I realized I should have done it. My shoes were so filled with mud that I was actually like a little bit taller. Like I didn't realize, and the mud was bunched up. It was actually hard for me to stand. I really like once I stopped and stood still, I realized I couldn't really stand still
Packed
anymore.
in inside your shoes.
So I actually had to take all the mud out, and then I felt a lot better.
Yeah, I got blisters on the first loop, 27 miles, and I made a good call to change my shoes.
Hmm.
I switched them out. I doubled up my socks and put another pair of the road shoes, ultras, on there,
Hmm.
and I didn't have to change socks or shoes the rest of the race. It was fine. It was good to go. But they were just a little bit too sloppy. Too
Hmm.
much slopping around. I got like 5 blisters on my feet, but that all fixed that. So that move was right. That was a good call by me. To do that instead of being miserable. I normally don't blister anyways, but the ultras don't. I don't blister in usually.
Hmm. So
But
so what drives like what continues you to keep doing these runs? Right, it's a lot of pain. Like you keep
well,
showing
I
up.
mean, I want to get. I mean, the Mohican. I mean, I knew the distance is going to be hard. It's still going to be a hard race, but I mean, I want to get Oil Creek out of the way, and I want to do other races. I want to move on to other races, but
Hmm.
I'm stubborn. I want to just do what the local ones first.
Hmm.
Even though Oil Creek is like a 5 out of 5 on the scale of hardness. You know, I'm still beating my head on that one to get that one under my belt. But I'll get it.
Hmm.
I'll get it eventually. But and then maybe do other races.
Hmm.
I mean, now that I'm involved with the more of the community now and some of the local runners, I get to see them, run their races. It's kind of cool. It gives me more drive to go out there and lead as an example or try to help out a little bit. But I mean, I by far don't have all the answers. I'm still figuring stuff out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think I'll always be trying to figure stuff out.
Now you said how many years you been doing this? You said
2009 was my first ultra,
okay. So
so 2008 maybe
about
right about
13 years. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to Ryan. Apparently, he found some chart where they were showing that most ultra marathon runners quit before 10 years of experience. Like they burn out, right?
Uh,
So you're definitely in that minority of
yeah,
of having done it for so many years.
yeah. Yep.
But you still have goals. You still have things you want
Yeah,
to
yeah. I
accomplish,
mean, I
right?
still want to. Yeah, if I get that one under my belt, then there's a couple other ones. I mean, there's definitely some harder ones out there, but I mean, I don't know. It depends on the time of year. August is pretty hot and muggy. I don't know if I'd
Hmm.
volunteer to run too many August races, in Pennsylvania
Hmm.
or anything like that. But
Now, how about
I mean, it feels good. It feels good to do. To push yourself. I mean, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I mean, I like managing the highs and lows, and all the lows are always followed by a high. Highs always followed by a low. But I had a couple of them in this race here, and when I hit a high right around mile 87, and I ran almost most of the miles. The rest of the race, I ran.
mhm.
I passed. I mean, I was last when I left the aid station at 87. I was 20 minutes ahead of the cutoff. probably the last runner on the course,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think I passed 15 runners the last 13 miles.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I started running.
Yeah, you have that. You have that
Well,
end
it
year.
was getting to be the second morning. I took that long sleeve shirt off, and it felt good, and I got cool all of a sudden. And it's just a couple little choice words here and there. The aid station attendant says, "You're doing fine. You're only 20 minutes ahead of the cutoff." I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute, I didn't know this race had
Mm.
cutoffs. I thought the cutoff was the finish line." I'm like, then I started thinking. And then Sean come up and he says, "Oh, Mike," he says, "I'm sure you'll run at some point, the next 13 miles. I'll see you at the finish line." I'm like, I'm gonna try. So I told Jamie, I said, "Oh, you stay out ahead of me here, and I'm gonna try to get warm again and
Mm-hmm.
start running." And then I was just like, man, the heck, does that feel great? I said, where'd this come from? I said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going for it. Now the last time I did that loop, it was in the dark, so I complained the whole time I couldn't see. Well, now I'm actually seeing the same loop again in the daylight, and I'm like, oh, this is runnable. I couldn't run it at nighttime. I sure as heck can run it now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we started running. We started catching people. And then me and her was going like, "Hey, there's a runner. Okay, let's pass him. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
there's a runner. Let's pass him." You know. So that was neat. But I had never at that point I'd never made the mile 87 before, so it was all new. All
Yeah,
new,
you're in uncharted territory at that point.
uncharted territory. Yeah.
Every time I go to an uncharted territory, I find myself oddly reinvigorated. Right, like I'm much less exhausted than if I do it a second time.
I had 4 hours and I think I had 4 hours and 25 minutes to go 13 miles. And Sean's like, "Well, Mike, if you just walk 20-minute miles, you'll make it. It'll be close, but you'll make it." And I said to Jamie, I said, "Well, hey, look," I says, I'm going to run here. Let's see if we can't make the 4 hours and 12 miles to go. All right. We're like 13 point something. So we
Mhm.
started running. Well, we got there with 11 hours. We made it. We made it. And there was 11 miles to go in 4 hours. So
Mhm.
then we kept running. Then we started running 9-minute miles. We started running 13-minute miles. We
Oh
started running.
wow.
I started running uphill. I started passing people going uphill.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from. I don't care. Let's just go.
Let's just go
Let's
until it's
just
not
go. Let's
working.
just go to what doesn't work anymore.
Oh my god.
So I knew, like I said, I knew the last 5 miles, the three of them were runnable because I ran some of that at
Mhm.
nighttime. And I started feeling good running a little bit of that. So the last two were going to be all just nothing but a walk. So I think I pretty much got all my energy out by the end of the race.
Mhm.
I was pretty much pooped at the end. But
No, what do you do that you think I feel like every runner does something that is against convention. That makes sense, right?
well, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I know for me, and don't quote me on this. I think sleep is really really important.
Okay.
All right. And the last couple times I ran Mohican 50 a couple years. That's where I ended up 2 years ago in the
Mhm.
COVID year. I ran the Mohican. And it was an altered course. I had the bike trail, and I did really good that day. I ran 11:15 for 50. So I finally beat that 11:33 that I did 10 years earlier. But that was on a hybrid road course. And that night there, I had a 32-ounce Modelo. I had chips and salsa. I had two burritos
The
and
night
rice and
before?
beans. Yes, the night before, and I slept like a baby. And you know what? There's no substitute for sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, you get up every half hour and you look at the clock all night. How about if you just really, really sleep?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I did it again this year, and I tell you what, it worked good. I got plenty of sleep. I
Yeah.
woke up. I wasn't nervous. Whatever.
Just went for it.
I went for it. Yeah, I wasn't dehydrated. I drank enough water, so I was fine.
Mhm. Mhm.
So sleep's good. Whatever helps you sleep.
Okay.
And guys say, "Oh, burritos." What? I don't know. It worked for
Yeah,
me.
that sounds dangerous,
It sounds
man.
sounds dangerous, but it worked. It worked. You know.
I don't know. I'm not taking that advice. I'm not eating a burrito. I'm not eating a burrito. But what else? Like so. I guess I'm fishing for this. Uh, we were talking about it earlier. I think you're the only runner I know who prefers to run in blue jeans.
I trained. Yeah, I have trained. Yeah.
Yeah. So walk us through why you train
Well,
blue
what
jeans.
happened was, we had this crazy elevation challenge that we were doing last October now, and I was trying to get caught up in that elevation. No, I had run Oil Creek and I dropped out that year, so I was allowed to count all those miles of the elevation. I was like 7,000 miles behind or
Hmm.
feet behind. And I mean, I just like I don't have a whole lot of tech clothes anyways. So I started running a few of these. I mean, I'd go to work. I mean, I work 40 hours a week, 48 hours. And that week was set up where I could just run, I just work daylight and then go run.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing this. So I'd stay in town. I'd go run a hill for 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
pick a hill in Butler and run it, run it for 2 hours straight, get a couple thousand feet elevation gain, And I just got to where I was wearing the jeans. Well, um, I'd gotten sick, like, I don't know if I had COVID or I got sick real bad with the diarrhea and stuff for like 8, 9, 10 days or whatever, in January. And I lost that weight. Well, when I started running more, the weight never come back on. So all that weight I've been trying to lose all this year, like stomach virus took the weight away.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it hasn't come back.
It's a blessing in
So
disguise.
yeah, I'm not going to complain about stomach virus anymore. Just don't eat, get stomach virus, then you'll lose the 10 pounds you can never get rid of.
Oh yeah, that's that perfect diet advice.
But I
Yeah.
started wearing the jeans. I'm like, why not? I'm gonna make, I'm gonna sport jeans and make it sexy again for running, for
Yeah.
ultra runners.
Okay. Yeah.
So I started wearing them. People were joking around with me, so I try it sometime. I mean, I blew the crotch out of like 3 of them. They were
Oh, I
just
bet.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
but I
because
wasn't.
there's a lot of friction in blue
Well, but
jeans. Yeah.
it was more, not so much the jeans, it was so much finally lost that 10 or 15 pounds I could never lose.
Okay.
It finally went off me. I probably because I'm older. I got a little older age-wise, and you shrink a little bit anyways.
Right.
So that helped me. So the rubbing issue is not an issue anymore, or
Mm-hmm.
because my legs are thinner. Everything's thinner. So I wear I got the belt and everything. Yeah, yeah. And it's cold. It's cold in the wintertime. This last winter,
Yeah.
I ran a lot in the snow and the ice.
Yeah. It was real cold this year.
And that's one thing I learned too. This last winter is how not to overdress.
Yeah, I don't actually
That
like to wear a lot during the winter. Um,
I
I
mean,
know.
I tend to overdress anyways, and I've learned to always just be ready to peel off if I got extra clothes on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I normally go pretty lightweight even in the winter. I'll have tights on, generally some shorts just for a little bit extra insulation. I only do like a long sleeve shirt. If it's once you start hitting like 20 degrees, I'll actually throw on
Yeah,
like a
you're the one
t-shirt.
that showed up in shorts. I
Yeah,
remember you getting out of that car there, a
yeah,
couple of training runs in shorts, no
yeah.
socks.
It's
There was like 5 inches of snow that year.
yeah. Well, the trick is to never wear socks, right?
You didn't have any on.
Yeah, yeah. The socks bunch up, man. They're the ones give you the all the hot spots, and I think they're what I've never lost any toenails. I don't get blisters or anything. I think
Yeah.
it's because I don't wear socks. You wear blue jeans. I don't wear socks. It's
I wore blue jeans today. I got to confess, I ran today in the woods. I wore blue jeans today.
it was hot
I
today.
know it was. I was just too late. I didn't want to put the tech clothes on. Heck with it.
The tech
I'm only
clothes.
going to be out there for 2 hours,
Is
so
that
who
is that
cares?
what you call shorts nowadays? Tech
Tech
clothes.
clothes. Well, the polyester and all that. It's cotton. Today I probably should have wore. I had a tech T-shirt on the top. I didn't have any. I had jeans on the bottom.
Yeah,
Like, what the heck? It's a
and just
joke.
go for it.
I'm gonna go for it. It's a joke. People are saying they're gonna have a Mike Jones Appreciation Day. They're all gonna go. They're all gonna wear blue jeans to a run. That's what they say.
I feel like we just need to buy you some Daisy Dukes for the summer. So how about you have 2 children, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They gonna pick up the Mike Jones ultra
No,
running?
no, no, no.
No.
I mean, they did all that. I mean, the boy, I think 3 years ago, pre-COVID, I think 3 years, as a senior, he ended up fourth in the state in the 400 meters.
Oh, he's a sprinter.
Yeah, he was a sprinter. Yep,
Oh,
he did really
jeez.
well. Yeah, he ran it in 40. I'm trying to think, 48.7 or 49.3 or something,
Mhm.
49.4. Yeah, ended up breaking the record for the school and fourth in the state. So I'm proud of him. He did well. He peaked just the right time. He qualified for states and went up there to state tournament and got on the podium.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
said, you know what, my boy's he's a power lifter, weightlifter, the whole 9 yards. So he's ripped. I said, well, Hunter, on the podium, you're gonna have the nicest looking biceps. And sure enough, he's standing there like this, and
Just
the
giant
arms, and
biceps.
he's bringing those huge arms around the track when he's running.
Yeah. Okay.
So the other,
Yeah. All that momentum from swinging his arms helps get you forward.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the daughter when she did cross country
Hmm.
and she did the mile 2 mile, in track.
Okay, so that,
And she
oh,
did
that
soccer. She
mid
did
distance
soccer.
2
Yeah,
mile.
she did soccer too.
Oh, okay, okay. That makes sense as to why the 2 mile works for her. But that's a rough it's a rough distance at 2 miler.
And the cross country too. So,
Okay.
and she made it to districts 1 year. I think she competed in districts 1 year for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's. I mean, they're in college now. Well, the boy is still in college. The daughter's graduated. She's pharmacy now,
Oh,
pharmacist.
awesome.
The boy's got 1 more year. He plays football and track in college, but he had this last track season was bad. He had tore MCL, so he had to kind of sit out
Mm.
the year or so.
They're actually allowing him to do 2 sports.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
He
wow,
does,
okay.
and he's doing an engineering degree, which he's right now he's just doing it for a resume builder because they see that he's doing sports and engineering. That looks good on paper.
Yeah,
He's
that
all about getting a job, so he's got his mind where it needs to be.
okay, okay.
So
What type of engineering?
mechanical.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, yeah. That's what I originally went to school for. Yeah, it's a good career.
Yeah,
But man, I couldn't imagine trying to do all those classes and a sport.
yeah.
So it
He's
was
up at
hard
Grove
enough.
City. Grove City.
Okay, so that's we gotta be proud of them then. I mean, they're
Oh
working
yeah. Oh,
hard.
yeah, the kids are smart.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the one that has to go be the mill guy. Go work shifts and doubles and
Hmm,
all that. Brain dead work. A lot of it.
Is it?
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay, but you gotta pay attention a lot. Like that's
Oh
a
yeah, no,
high
no, it's
risk
important.
area.
It's important when I do, and I can get hurt and killed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always around danger all the time.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, I know your shift work is crazy. Sometimes you're working wild hours, right?
yeah,
Um.
it's tough to find time to do stuff. Family stuff is difficult
Mhm.
because you're always gone. I mean, it's tough to even to find races. You got to arrange trades or call off work or whatever I got to do to make races.
Okay. Do you not have like a set schedule
Oh
generally?
no, it
It's
I mean, you could stay on a term for a while, and then they'll just move you around, whatever's convenient for
okay.
them. Company convenience.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's not set in stone.
Hmm.
At least
Uh,
not in my department.
gotcha. So even now, you're still just every day. Like, how far in advance do you know what your schedule's gonna be? Is it like day by day, week
No,
by
it's no,
week?
no. It's week by week, but I mean,
Okay.
but it could change because depending on if they have a shutdown or whatever production calls for.
Mm-hmm.
So
What does your mill produce?
I run the rolling mill, so we roll steel down to gauge. Gauge is the thickness of
Hmm.
the steel. So you get a coil of steel and you got to squeeze it down to a certain gauge. So that's what we do. We squeeze it to a certain gauge and then move it on to another unit. It goes from there. So
Oh, okay.
it'll come in one thickness, come out another thickness.
Yeah. When you say to another unit, is that something close to you, or
A
like?
unit's just I just call a unit because it's just a machine that you have the mills to squeeze, and it goes through one end, out the strip goes out the other into a coil. Coil on one end, coil on the other end.
Mhm.
Then it goes out. We push sticker on, and it goes out and goes to another process. So
Okay. Same site though, right?
yeah,
But
oh yeah, yeah. You don't
okay.
move it. It's all right there. Yeah,
Okay. Now the whole mill, like, does it just produce different types of steel? Does it have
yeah,
a
yeah. We
specific?
do. Yeah, I mean, we roll all kinds of different stuff.
Oh,
You
okay.
know.
So that's like, and the steel coming in, that's American steel, or are you getting your steel from?
Well, we're one of the only manufacturers of electrical steel in the world. We're the only ones in the United States to make it.
Electrical steel, you said.
Electrical steel, and that's real popular right now. Right now, it's booming.
What's electrical steel?
Electrical steel is like power grids, transformers.
Hmm.
Those, and if you cut them apart, they got steel in there. Steel is all folded over and stuff. It's a
Okay.
conductor of electricity. So
Hmm.
that they use that for making, for transmitting electricity.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
So
is it like a higher grade of steel? I take it.
yeah, and I mean some of that they can use in like motors and for cars and stuff like that too.
Hmm.
Electric cars, the newer stuff.
Yeah. Now we were just on the Ghost Trail out east from here, and it goes from Sailor to we went to Nantiglow, so ended up being about 25 miles one direction on the bikes, and it's nice because they took like it's all trail or sorry rail trail, right? So they took this rail trail and just cindered it over. It's beautifully maintained. Um, I'm trying to think. It's the one before Nantiglow. I cannot remember the name of this something Dale, Vintondale or something like this, right? And it's all these old coal miners used to work there, and right next outside of this really small like town, I guess a dale or something like. I think that's what a dale is a small town. Um, in 1905, they had built this like pyramids like slash triangle piece out of blocks, and it's a furnace. And they were showing how they would it was a furnace, and the entire economy around this area was built off of making firewood and then making it out of charcoal and then firing this furnace and then throwing in ore and making just pig iron. And that was the entire economy of this area, was to get that, to make that pig iron that would eventually go to mills. It's interesting to see, like,
Mm.
we don't have too much of that anymore, do we?
Uh-uh.
So you're still one of the old millwrights.
Well, yeah, I mean AK Steel had sold some of the technology off to the Japanese, or how to make or China, how to make electrical steel. They make it over there now. But
Yeah.
we had it locked in. We had it all. It was us and Alligator London. That was it. Pretty much
Mhm.
the whole world. And they went and sold off the technology, and they went and built mills over. And this is over in the last 20 some years
Okay.
since
Okay.
I've been there. And they're making it overseas now. I mean, China. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, China gets
yep,
if
they copy everything. They
yeah.
copy everything, and then they dump the market
Hmm.
cheap.
Yeah.
Cheap labor, the whole 9 yards.
I
They
know.
don't care about safety over there.
No. No.
No,
Or you
they
mean
don't care.
you've seen the like apparent? I don't know how true it is, but like you see in some of their factories, like their factories all have like suicide nets and stuff, so that people don't jump to their death and everything. Yeah. It's workers' rights and stuff are not a big concern over there. And copyrights are not a big concern, and patents aren't a big concern. I know in the tech industry, a lot of tech giants aren't, patenting the stuff or making things open source if they don't want China to copy it. Because as soon as you patent something with an American patent, that's public in the public domain. China can see it; they can copy it. Um, yeah, the competition is real right there. Um, isn't up by Deer Creek Park, right? Deer Lake Park, right?
Okay.
Isn't there a mill out there that got bought up by China? Mm.
No, I
I
don't
thought
know.
we were
There's
running.
Allegheny and Ludlam out that way,
Okay,
but I don't think they got bought out by China.
okay, because I remember we were running in the snow like a year ago, and Ryan had pointed out and said, "See that building out there?" I thought they had gone bought out by a Chinese company.
No, maybe he would know. He's a safety guy. He goes in
Yeah,
and out of those mills all the time.
yeah, 'cause we
So,
came up on a ridge and there was a big building out there.
no, probably true.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, do you still like? Do you enjoy your work? Like, are you?
I don't know. I mean, I mean, I guess like a lot of things, I got a love hate relationship. I love it when things go well. I hate it when it doesn't.
Right, right, right.
There's no in between with me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, a lot of things can go wrong there, right? Like major catastrophes. Like
yeah, I mean,
imagine
yeah, you can
heavy machinery.
cut your fingers off. You get hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. How often do you see like issues like that? Like,
Well, we just had a guy get hurt here a month ago. He got his finger stuck in something.
mhm,
He's
mhm.
got tore the tendons off his fingers. Got it now. He can, he's got a light duty now. He's got to wait and let his fingers heal up. He had a couple surgeries done.
He's gonna get them back, or
Yeah, eventually, but it might be months.
oh my god,
We're shorthanded again, so
yeah.
that was bad. I didn't want to see that. He come walk out of the mill, hold his hand up like this, his middle finger like this, like oh, like this. I'm like, I saw a look on his face. I'm like, I just like, oh man, I don't want to see that.
Ah,
I mean, right off the bat, we thought, oh, he's gonna lose his finger, but he didn't lose his finger, so
no,
we were
okay.
lucky. Yeah, whatever he jammed it on, he got his hand stuck in something and he didn't let go, and the strip moved or something and got his hand jammed.
Mhm.
But
Now, when that happened, I mean, obviously you take him straight to the hospital and stuff like
yeah,
that.
we sat him down and they taped it up and everything, and they called the ambulance to come get him.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
Yeah, that's rough. Um, so how'd you get it started in that kind of business?
I it my dad worked there all those years.
Okay.
I mean, I started out as an auto mechanic, went to school for that.
Hmm.
You can't really raise a family on that wages. Wages are really low.
Are they?
Well, back in '86 it was.
Okay. I was gonna say
In
I
the
thought auto
'90s.
mechanics were starting to become like
Well, they might be now, but
yeah.
not back then. And I mean, it was hard to get in the mill back in the day,
Hmm.
and I got in. I made a mistake on my application, and my dad, he had he done he my dad he a few things he's done for me. That was one of the favors he actually did for me that actually helped.
Hmm.
That was back when you could actually call and make phone calls and stuff. Dad actually called to check on my application, and he knew the guy that was hiring because they went to school together.
Hmm.
And he says, "Well, it's just your son's file's in a dead letter, it's in a dead file here because he didn't fill out, he didn't write complete information on the application. I didn't write. They call every single person on there. Well, I was instead of just calling people I know that would answer, I just wrote down the boss I had at the time. Well, that boss ain't there anymore, so they go to try to call to get a
Mm.
confirmation, you know, and they weren't getting answers,
Right,
so they
right.
got put in dead letter file. So my dad called him and he says, "Well, I don't know if I can get him in this last group, but I'll get him in here. I'm here at 4 o'clock in the morning." So, and this guy's a hard ass. He's real hard on people. So I knew I had to just walk in there and just.
Exactly 4 o'clock in the
I
morning.
got there at 4:30 in the morning. That's whatever. And I walked in there and the first thing he says, "So you're the one that don't know how to fill out a job application." He got right in my face and I said, "Yes, sir." And I just said nothing. And then he says, "Well, here, you got to change this around and put different names. Who are these guys?" And we tried to call, and so why is there a gap in this history over here? And I explained everything to him, and I was real nice and kind. He resubmitted, got me in the last group. Then that guy ended up. That was probably the last favor he ever did for anybody in that mill. He ended up retiring a couple years later.
Okay, okay.
So that was the last group he was involved with hiring. So like I mean, I got in. Now they hire anybody. There's no jumping through hoops or nothing like that. They get you in there 'cause they need people bad. But
Yeah.
when I went, there was 3,500 applications for 125 people.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I had to be smart enough to get to pass the test to get in the top 90%. They take they took the top 10% of the people. So I had to be smarter than 90% of the people that I'm taking the test with.
Hmm.
And I got lucky. I passed that part, and then moved on to the next process, and they start weeding out applications.
Jeez.
And yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the
so I got lucky.
worker shortage nowadays is a real thing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Why do you what's your perspective on that? Like, how come you guys are seeing such a worker shortage?
Why? I don't know. I mean I mean it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I think the COVID thing probably had a lot to do with that.
Mm.
People staying home and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I was
we
talking.
just it's turnaround time. I mean, for us it was the 30-year turnaround. Because if you take a look, they hired a bunch of people in X amount of years, big groups, and when they hit the 30 years, they all retire.
Oh,
Now, so
okay.
the IAM pension fund put their foot down, and they're struggling. So, in a way for them to loosen up funds, is they kind of gave these guys an ultimatum: if you're not out by a certain time, you're gonna lose some of your benefits. So they put a drop dead date in.
Mhm.
Anybody hired, if you don't retire by this certain date, you're going to lose money, and it's going to take you 5 years to get that money back. Well, at least a lot of these guys are going to leave if that happens, and that's exactly what happened. They all had a mass exodus.
Okay.
So our mill lost 500 some people.
Just
Boom, just like
overnight.
overnight. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
So now everyone's in the train. So they're scrambling to get people in there. I mean, when I hired in, they had a tiered wage system. You start out 70% wage, then first year, then 80%, 90%, then 100%. They waived that.
You just
Yeah,
start 100%
yeah.
then.
They just said, "Well, we need people in here," and they couldn't find anybody to pass drug tests or any of that stuff. Sorry to say, yeah, and all that stuff. They're just and now they had to give them an extra incentive because they weren't going to go at 70% because they were leaving. They can go to
Yep.
Sheets and make $17 an hour. Why would they go down here for less than that at 70% and work in the mill, work shifts?
That makes sense, right? Yeah.
So they waived that. So
Mhm.
they all come in now at 100%. Now, I mean, I went through it. Why don't you should? But that's not what happened.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's supply and demand to a degree, right? I mean, I was talking to a bartender yesterday, and he was saying, they're short staffed at as bartenders, and they keep trying to hire new people because he's like, dude, he's like the last month he's like, I've had 2 days off. It's like we need more bartenders, and He says he had two people who passed everything was going good, and they just never showed up for their first day of work.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's true, but he says that's kind of how you prolong your unemployment, right?
Right.
Um, and from the COVID, whatever it is, and then he said he had one guy. He had one guy that didn't work. I can't remember why, and then he had another one who came on and was clearly on something, and he was like,
Mm.
after the first day, he's like, "You gotta go. Like we can't have you here. That's a danger." Um, yeah, people everywhere can't find stuff. I know in my industry, like in the tech industry, it's hard to find talent. It's hard to find talent in the service industry. It's hard to find talent with you guys too,
I
apparently.
mean, they're. I mean, the service industries. I mean, they're even paying them more money. And
Hmm.
yeah,
It seems like it's just the money's not motivating people for
yeah. I
whatever
mean,
reason.
I was I was running the other day, and I listened to Sirius XM, and they had a commercial on there, and they were saying that the service industry had a 43% raise in the amount of money they get paid over the last year and a half. It's jumped up. They're like the
Really?
number one. Yeah, they're getting paid more money. That's probably because they can't get anybody.
Fair
I
enough.
mean, now a lot of the service industry based on tips, but they still had to give them more money on top of that. So
Hmm.
they're starting out, but they were only getting like $3 an hour. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's where that come from. They come up from there, plus their tips.
Right.
They still can't get anybody.
Right.
They're still shutting down. Just
Yeah.
restaurants are not getting enough staffed. I mean, they're having trouble getting people uh, for planes and flights, flight attendants, and taking care of the baggage claims and all that stuff. And
Hmm.
that's all shortage.
Yeah. I mean, I know it seems to be a little bit better now, but for a while there, you would just have like flights randomly canceled because they didn't have a pilot. It's like, okay, how did you schedule? I mean, plane scheduling is non-trivial in the first place, but how did you just suddenly not get a pilot, right? Um, yeah. So actually, let's go back. We were talking a little bit before all of this, um, a little bit about how the spirituality of running and how it kind of calms the soul. Um, was that always something for you, or
Uh,
has running always calmed you, or has it?
yeah, it's I mean, to me, it's yeah, I could say it's my church. I relax.
Hmm.
I run to relax. It's calming.
Hmm.
When the endorphins are flying, and moving. Even when I'm going through ups and downs, it feels good. It's addicting.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, it, I feel good. It's just you know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely see like I said, I'd seen somebody over the weekend and he was running. He was like probably 15 miles into a run. He looked perfectly calm, perfectly fine, collected, and he was like, running is my church, being out here in the wilderness and stuff. And I feel that way every
Mm.
once in a while. Uh, but I find myself more often than not like at odds with the distance, like trying to fight the fact that there's another 5 miles or something
Yeah,
like this, right?
I've got real good at that.
Yeah.
Recently. Yeah, I mean, I learned to count really well.
Yeah.
When I'm doing a lot of loops and stuff, and
Yeah.
especially with doing all the hill repeats I've been doing the last 6 or 8 months. I mean, yeah, I learned to count to 10 really well. I count to 5 really well.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah.
if I'm on done with my first repeat, and I'm almost starting my second repeat, I'm 40% done. I'm only doing 5.
Uh
Well,
huh.
if I start 2, I'm like almost done.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know, you don't count the last one, so you really, once you start the fourth one, you're the fourth, fifth, just play those little
Mhm,
games,
mhm, mhm.
because I know, like on this like second or third hill repeat, I'm gonna feel really like garbage, but that's only gonna last for so long,
Right.
and then it'll go away,
Yeah.
then it'll start feeling good again, you
So when
know.
when you go out there, I mean, you do some crazy distances even when you're training. I mean, do you go out there playing to these crazy distances, or you just start going and it just never ends, and you just keep going and working harder for more and more miles?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I shoot from the hip a lot. I mean, I'll add extra. I mean, I just kind of go how I feel and play
Hmm.
wing it. I mean, I'm kind of struggling right now with boredom because I've run so much. I've run over 1,000 miles so far this year, and that's a lot for me. That's probably double what I normally run.
Right.
And I'm running I'm running the same routes all the time, getting like bored with it. And I don't really want to get in my car and drive somewhere. You
Hmm.
know, like so. There's only so many ways I can go out my go right, left, straight, or back. You know, just there's only so many ways. So
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like you've seen all the trails. Like it's like I want to see a different trail sometime soon. But that was part of the reason we went out to the Ghost Trail. I haven't been on that one, right? And we were talking about. So one of the things we noticed is when you go on these trails, man, there's not a lot of people out there. Um, Especially the closer you are to like Pittsburgh, a big city. It's like how come like there's what hundreds of thousands of people here. How come there like these trails just aren't packed all the time? My buddy had a good point. He said that's because Pittsburgh does a pretty good job of actually having fun trails within city limits, right? And so I've run a lot of the Frick Park trails. I've run some of the Shenley trails and stuff.
oh, okay.
And then for biking and stuff, you have a whole bunch of bike trails along the rivers. And it's only been the fact that we've been biking for a couple of years now. I've been running for a couple of years now that we're trying to venture further and further out to find trails we haven't seen before. Um, and my dad was kind of complaining about that too. He's like, "How come all of these ultra marathon run like races are becoming harder and harder? Right? They're like at higher elevations with more elevation and all this kind of stuff. They're just trying to make them harder." I'm like, well, I think as this community ages, they're looking for more and more thrills, right? And they're kind of aging together, right?
No, that
And so,
makes sense.
and so you kind of see these insane. I mean, I don't know. Some of these people are doing insane amounts of elevation. They're like 2 miles, 3 miles of elevation within 50 miles, and it's just like this is wild. Um, so what run do you want to do that you like? How about this? If you had a dream run,
Uh, well, I haven't really looked that far because I haven't gotten past my first goal, getting to Oil Creek yet.
Oil
Yeah,
Creek.
I still want to get to Oil Creek. I mean, I haven't really moved on from the notion of trying to find another one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of them. MMT looks like an interesting one.
What's MMT?
Massive Manhattan, something like that, 100,
Okay.
and that one there is they give you a longer time limit. I think it's 34 hours,
Mm-hmm.
34 or 35 hours they give you. So it's a lot of rocks and boulder fields. I don't know. I'm not really good with rocks and boulders, but
Yeah, that's
they
rough.
have that. So that's not too far away. I
Mm-hmm.
might want to do that one. If you, I mean, you have the Eastern States 100, which is in the Central PA. That's a hard one, real hard.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll ever do that one because I just think that one just might be just too difficult for my skill level. But it's something you could look forward to if I get better. You know,
Right.
I mean,
What
I
makes that
mean,
one so much harder?
I don't know. Like I said, I took a look. I mean, that race has only been around for about 8 or 10 years. It's relatively new, and I think what I'm hearing from some of the guys is that there's long distances between aid stations. You
Mhm.
know, and it's hard to get crews out there to people. And it's the middle of August. It's hot, and like I seen some of the people that finished. I seen a couple guys that finished Oil Creek in 20 hours go out to Eastern States and take them 29 hours. Now you got an elite runner
That's
that
a huge
yes,
difference.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
So when you
you're
see an elite runner take 9 hours longer on a course, that means it's that much harder.
yeah, I mean considering that the elite runners can run 50 miles in 9 hours.
Right,
Like,
right.
yeah, that's
So I saw that and I'm like, oh, you know,
yeah, that's
yeah.
wild.
Now I mean it's tempting because you look, oh yeah, I got that extra 3 hours. It's
Mhm, mhm.
35 hours. Oh, yeah, I could probably just hike the whole thing. Well, yes and no. You know, man, I don't know. I mean, a lot of these races, like that race there, you got to have qualified races, which I already qualified because I've been consistently doing enough 50-mile races that I can qualify.
Okay.
The Mohican is a qualifier for the Western States, so I'm allowed to apply, use that as a lottery, put something in for a lottery ticket for that race.
Mhm,
And you
mhm.
never know, you get lucky and pull that ticket, you can go out west, you
Right.
know, and run that one. But if you don't get picked the first year, I think they give you extra tickets for the next year. You reapply or whatever. But you know that's like an all star. That's like
This is a
they
big
it's
one.
yeah it's the one. It's like the what everyone wants to do on their bucket list. Kind of be like Boston for running.
Yeah.
For road races. This would be Western states would be the Eastern states. I think is actually harder to do, believe it or not, than Western states. It's a newer race, but
Mhm. Well, the Appalachian like mountain because I think it's within the
it's right
Appalachian.
around that area.
Yeah, the Appalachian Mountain Range is surprisingly tricky compared to
Yeah,
the Rockies because it's a lot. You get a lot more quick up and down valleys, right? And so you get a lot
yeah,
more frequency in it. Um, I've watched videos on those Western runs, and it is like they're like, all right, now we're going to walk up this hill for 3 to 5 miles. And it's like that's a big, But here on the East Coast, you kind of go up and down,
yeah. They
up and
go
down,
up
up
and
and down.
down. They do switchbacks out west,
Yeah.
and they're mostly like horse trails and stuff. They're a lot more nicely groomed. It's a lot. The AT's got like 100,000 feet more elevation than the Pacific Crest Trail.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite a bit more,
Yeah.
because you're going up and down.
Mhm.
You're not switchbacking nothing. So
Yeah.
it's more. It's harder. Now that's someday I'd like to do that. I'd like to retire and go do the Appalachian Trail. Be a through hiker. I
Mhm.
think that'd be cool. I mean, God willing, if I'm still able to run, and even when I can't run anymore, if I'm able to hike, maybe I could go do some through hiking.
Yeah, I've got a high school friend who did most of the Appalachian Trail. We're hoping to get her on this eventually. Um, and it was she kind of on social media put up a lot of her experience of going through, and it was fun to watch her because you get like an update like every week or two as while she's like going through this trail, and every week she looks completely different.
Yeah,
Like
I
her
guess.
entire body
Hmm.
morphed while
I
she was doing it.
I guess it takes a while to get what they call get your trail legs under you,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever that means. Probably just from the constant, every single day you're hiking 20, 30 miles or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It just you get those legs going. Get them under you.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not, I'd probably be the same thing for me. I'd probably take a couple months for me to get my legs under me. You
yeah.
know.
No, I want
But I
to.
have to learn to hike. I have to learn to sleep outside though. And sleep in tents and stuff, and under the stars. I've never tried that. So
You've never gone camping
no,
before?
not necessarily. Not wild camping like that. Like out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I
You
went.
know.
I was in the Boy Scouts once. I guess you. Anyways, I was in the Boy Scouts, and I really enjoyed camping. We went up to Minnesota once, and it's like um, 5 days. You just go out, like get in a canoe, and just like take a route out. You just start paddling away, and then after like 2.5 days, you kind of loop back around, right? And you start coming back, and that second or third night, I mean, you're 40 miles or whatever it is you could canoe away
Mm.
from where you started. I mean, you're really just they're like, here's this like satellite phone. This is for emergencies only. We have it at all times. That's the only way you're getting out of here except for canoeing back.
Mm.
You're like, oh man, it's just you and the mosquitoes out there. There's a lot of
There's plenty to
mosquitoes.
do to keep you busy the rest of my life. So I mean, I'll try to move on to
Hmm.
other races. And try to knock down the ones that I've been trying again. I said I DNF'd Laurel 3 times, and I finished it the last 2 times. So
Hmm.
I got 2 finishes under my belt, and I'm happy to not run that race again. It's a little bit too technical for me. The rocks and roots are a little bit, not my liking.
Hmm.
So I was glad to get, like I said, the COVID year. I did it in the fall, and then I came back 6 months later and did it in June. So I'm happy with 2 finishes there. So I'm gonna just kind of maybe call it for that. Be done with that one.
Right, right, right.
Mohican, I might do that. See, Mohican's only a week before Laurel. I think Laurel's going on now this weekend. So
Yep.
it'll be done at 3 in the morning. But I might just start doing a Mohican every year because it's
Yeah.
not that far to drive. It's just a 3 hour drive. And I like the course. The people are really nice and friendly. I mean, volunteers are fun.
Yeah. No, I mean that's Oh, I think one day I don't know. I think that's kind of one of the fun parts is especially 50K for me is a good length. Um, you seem to think the 50 milers aren't so bad, but I think they're pretty rough. Uh, and so I think maybe if I start like
Yeah.
going around and exploring different parts of the states with the 50Ks, I think it'd be a lot of fun.
But yeah, there's a lot of them out there. I mean, I guess it's all different. I mean, it's not if you're gonna walk, it's when you're gonna walk. I guess if you run a 50K, a lot of people can do it without ever doing any hiking.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there's going to be some hiking no matter what.
Yeah.
And usually by the end of the race, I'm hiking all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the other people not. So it's a mindset. The people that are the sprinters, I call them, they run all the short races. Yeah, they're used. They're not, they don't want to slow down. So that it's. I mean, it's so when they have to go further, they are slower. Their ego. They have to deal with their ego a little bit. Well, it's going to be slower. I don't know if I want to go slower. I don't
Right.
know if I want to walk. I don't know if I want to hike. You know. Then they have to make up their mind if they want to go do the jump to the 50 or not. Like
Okay.
a lot of guys won't. They'll just stay with the 30Ks and the 50Ks, and that's fine. That's all what you want to do. I mean, I don't like marathons and half marathons because I consider them sprints.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want to spend all day out there. I want to enjoy. I want to see the sun. I want to see the angles of the sun and the shadows change.
Mm-hmm.
From being out there hours. I want to sit there and talk to the people at the aid stations and and see the runners coming and going. And that I like that.
Yeah, it does. Going into these longer distances, I noticed that is kind of the difference. It's gone from just being a workout to being a day long event. Like
Hmm.
it's an experience, right? When I go out and do half marathons, uh, it's exciting, it's exhilarating. There's adrenaline the entire time. Like you run off and you feel adrenaline. By the time that adrenaline starts to uh, get out of your body, you're like, okay, now I'm working. And then it's like now you have a lull, and then by the time the lull hits,
Hmm.
you sit in that lull for a while, and then you come back around, and there's all this adrenaline again to get you towards the end, and then it's over, and then you have like the rest of the day. Whereas
Yeah.
these ultras, man, you start at like you
You,
say, you start at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, whenever it is,
hmm
and if you finish before the
You're
sun
gonna
goes
have a
down,
whole bunch of ups and a whole bunch of downs for the
oh,
whole day.
it's nonstop. Um,
And you recognize your ups and your downs. If you can manage it, the person that manages it's gonna do well, and the person that doesn't manage it well is gonna fail.
yeah.
And some people just don't want to walk.
Oh, I do a lot. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you have to learn that. I mean, and I have lots. I got lots of downs, right? And you definitely remember those. I feel like you remember the downs a lot more than the ups, but in a kind of a fond way. Um, like I start really hating rocks.
I know, I
Oh
know,
my
I
god,
know. That's why I don't think I'll do Laurel again.
that's why I
I
like
mean,
this last one, man. We were what were we? About 25 miles in, and I kicked a rock so hard. Oh my god, I just stopped and just yelled
I
at
just
it.
say that hurts. That hurt. That hurts. I know. If you do X-ray on my toes, I know I've broken them. I
Yeah.
I know I have. Yeah, 'cause I've had pain in the toes that took 6 weeks to go away. That had to have been a fracture. Had
Right.
to have been somewhere.
Oh, of course.
Do an autopsy on me someday when I'm dead and take a look.
Yeah. The guy who got me into running, I work with him, and he went out, or into the ultras at least. He went out the next, like a couple months later, and he did some run out west, and he said it was lots of rocks. He said in the first 10 miles, he accidentally kicked a rock and broke his foot
Mm.
when and finished the 70-mile race. I'm like, dude, that's I've yet to be like to do that. I've not broken something yet and had to finish a race. Um, but I have kicked rocks really hard. Um,
Yeah.
but hey, we're heading up on time. So, anything else before we head out?
No, no, that
Um,
sounds good.
thank go on thank your what do you want your crew that got you through your 100 milers. You're still alive. You're still walking
Yeah.
around just fine and
Thanks,
running
Sean and
even.
Jamie. Sean and Jamie, Butler County Malers.
Yeah,
They put on a good runs up there in Butler, and they're always at it. They're at it all the time. So,
perfect. All right. Well, thanks for coming, Mike, and we'll
all right,
have to have you next 100 miler, huh?
all right. Thanks.
All right. See ya.
See ya.